Welcome to the Prodigal and the Priest podcast, a podcast about faith, sports, and two friends from different cultures. Here are your hosts, Joey Scansella and Father Paul Bechter.
Hello, party people, Prodigal and the Priest.
What's up?
And me. I really want to change our name of that. I don't know why.
What do you want to change it to?
I don't know. I wanted to be Prodigal and the Priest, the question edition.
All right.
Yeah, but it's not that simple. And then it's been like numbered out on the pod. I don't know. It'll have to wait till season
you can
2.
go and back fill all of them. And
I can go.
Yeah.
Everybody caught that, right? So
you have interns or something, don't you? I don't have any support around here.
Oh, all right. We're going to get into your questions before we get into a fight here. So March 26th, this is our question edition of the podcast. You write in your burning questions and we answer them, or you just tell us we're great or we're terrible and we respond as well. So that's usually what happens. Okay. I'm going, although, so this person's name is Joe. He said this could possibly be a whole episode, but
or a series,
but in reading the question, and also it's come up in the St. Joseph novena that we both just did, I think we can address it. So I'm submitting this question as a potential topic for an entire podcast, or on or around the feast of the Sacred Heart of Jesus or the Immaculate Heart of Mary. I just love this topic, so I want to do it now. So boom.
Okay.
Joe says, there's such a thing called maternal microchimerism. It is also known scientific phenomenon that demonstrates the mother and child share cells in certain parts of their body, especially in the cardiac cells and wounds. Father Don Calloway also discusses this in some of his writings and videos. That's where we've heard it in the most recent novena. The challenge for you, Father Paul and Joey, if you choose to accept it. No, I just added that. Familiarize yourself with the fact of this scientific reality and discuss the theological and spiritual ramifications with regard to the two hearts. Jesus received all his humanity from his mother, and they shared a special and unique bond to the point that Mary even suffered much of what Jesus suffered in life, and especially on the cross. Perhaps when a child dies, part of the mother truly does die, and vice versa. ?
That is a great question. That's a fantastic question. And I do think that there's part of it, like, if we were to accept that challenge, to actually familiarize ourselves with the microchimerism. Microchimerism.
He actually broke it down. That's why I actually
that's a very confident response from you.
Chimerism. Yeah, microchimerism.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with the medical side of it enough to enter into the challenge on that. But if we take for granted, right, that's a thing, then I think like the theological implications are really beautiful. Like we have Mary, for instance, right, as co-redemptrix, not formally and solemnly defined by the church, but the devotion and the theology is certainly there that Mary, more than anyone else, participates in the passion and crucifixion and death of her son.
Right.
And that in that way she fulfills the prophecy of Simeon, and you yourself a sword shall pierce. Right. And that's why we see the picture, the sort of devotional imagery of the sorrowful mother with the 7 swords piercing her heart.
Yep.
That's not just on the level of sort of a mother's devotion to her son, maybe it's weird to put it like that. Like basically what we're saying is like medically, there's something true of all mothers, right? Mm-hmm. That like they are now physically part of their child, and their child is now physically part of them. Like that's the special thing, right? Obviously, the child takes on so much from a normal mother and from Mary.
Right.
Jesus took his entire human nature, but it's that backwards move.
Mm-hmm.
That's the interesting thing scientifically, where
Right.
something about Mary changes now, that she has carried Jesus in her womb,
Right.
like even on the level of like nature of scientific biology.
Right.
I think that's a really beautiful thing that would be worth. I don't know. Do you have any more thoughts? I would want to ponder that some more and also look.
Yeah,
more
and
into
I wanted to
science
initial toss it
yeah.
out, and maybe we can go into it for an entire thing. I will say this
in June for the Sacred Heart month.
Yeah, it would be beautiful. But I wanted people to hear about it now because they might have heard about it in the St. Joseph consecration. And Father Donald Calloway, maybe we can put it in our show notes. I know you're very familiar with filling that out online.
No, of course.
But there's a YouTube link and some different links that we'll be able to link people to if they wanted to watch other videos or do things on that. I will say this. Being somebody who Nikki and I had a child pass away very sudden and unexpected from an undiagnosed heart condition, and y'all have heard me mention it before, and I mention it for any new listeners. As soon as I read this, like I thought about my wife who carried our child, and like, I truly believe the day our daughter Kiara passed away, there was a part of her that was linked to that died with her. There's no, I can't go in and prove that scientifically with my wife, but as being a parent who's lost a child, and that's why we hear that phrase so, tossed around to parents who lose children, be like, it's just unnatural that, a parent, out survive a child.
Has to bury their child.
That I have no doubt 100% that when a mother loses a child, no matter what the age, whether it was, 16 days old or 33 years later in Mary's case, that a part of them dies with that child. So I just want to toss that out.
Thank you for sharing that. It's such a powerful and such a tragic thing that you went through, but the way that you can speak about it is so, it's so real. It's full of hope, but it's not sugar-coated in any way. It makes me think honestly of the way that like Jesus's wounds remain after the resurrection, but they're glorified. They become occasions for God to show his glory. Yeah. Like this wound is obviously very clearly still there. And so I appreciate like the vulnerability that it takes for you to bring it up to talk about Kiara. But it's also like there's some transfiguration that has already taken place in a substantial way for you to be able to talk about something so tragic in such a sort of a profound way. I guess I would say.
Thanks.
So thank you for that.
Okay, let's jump into a lighter question. But
right,
Joe,
something
thank
about
you.
Refrigerator lights or favorite shapes.
That was a great question. But Joe, thank you for that very insightful one. And it gives us, I wanted people just to hear initial things, and then it gives us, a little bit deeper dive into it. But okay, next, this is from Kay. Kay talks about how she actually has seen the document when we talked about the altar at St. Anne's and which saint relics are in that. It's somewhere.
I have it.
You have it. Read it
I
off.
have it now.
Great. She was just mentioning that, and then she was like, I can't find it anymore. I used to have it online. So go ahead. Hit us up. Many people have asked before, what saints are in our altar?
Yeah.
So that, and then she has another question. Excuse me, kind of in follow up to the Mass.
It was not who I thought it was. I'll say that.
Man, it wasn't St. Joseph. What if we just started rumors and be like, it's just like St. Joseph, St. Augustine, and
here it is.
Okay.
When I would talk about this before, I'd be like, some old, some new. It's a lot more new. I
Okay.
mean, new, like, relative in the history of the church.
Right. Right.
So, St. John Neumann, St. Francis Xavier Cabrini, St. Martin de Porres, the Japanese martyrs, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, St. Charles Luanga.
Oh, man. Yes.
Yeah.
I love St. Charles Luanga.
Yeah, important witness for today. St. Rose of Lima and St. Faustina.
All those.
Yeah. Relics under the altar, St. Anne Catholic Parish.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
There it is.
All right.
Finally got the list.
So
this is another sort of like fulfillment of something that's been a year.
We really need a better, awesome drop.
I like what you did there.
There you go. Okay. Well, she also follows up and asks something that I love this question. She says, watching the live stream mass, when the priest gives the blessing at the end, do I receive that blessing as if I was being there, if I was actually being physically present? If the answer is yes, what if I watch it later, not in real time? Great question.
It's a good question. How does
love
technology
it.
work? Okay. I'm going to back up and I'm going to talk about the whole thing here. So there are some things that can be transmitted over the internet.
Yeah, like confession.
Yeah.
I'm
And
just
some
kidding.
things that
I'm
can't.
just kidding for everybody
Confession
who
sacraments can't.
Right.
You can't, be baptized. You can't receive the Eucharist, right?
Right.
Um,
That's why we have a prayer
we
of
make
spiritual
a prayer
communion.
of spiritual communion, which is essentially a prayer of, I desire to receive you, Lord, and though I'm not able to physically, I know that you can give me the grace of the thing. It would get too far into like Thomistic theology to go down that road, but like I know that you can that you will give me grace now,
Right.
In response to that desire. That's what spiritual communion is, but it's not the same thing as receiving communion. And so you can't do absolution for confession, but can you give a blessing? Well, the Pope can. We know that. For the Urbi et Orbi, which means to the city and to the world, the city being Rome. Mm-hmm. So Urbi et Orbi, he gives this little talk and this blessing on Christmas Day, and then some other times whenever he chooses to. And it says like that you receive that blessing whether you watch it recorded or live. That's a very interesting thing. That being said, the Pope does have a certain universal jurisdiction,
Right.
that I do not, for instance. And so how does it work with me? And part of the reason I'm talking around this is I don't really know. Like I've gone back and forth on it. It makes sense to be able to receive a blessing over a Zoom call, right? You have like I've done spiritual direction with people over Zoom. I've had small groups that I've been in a part of a Zoom meeting or Skype before that or phone call or anything like that. Like we've done all sorts of sort of creative ways to keep different aspects of our ministry going. I always kind of want to give a blessing at the end. I did for a while, and then I was like, I don't know, like kind of weird, or maybe it's not. And I've seen like bishops do both things. I've seen bishops not give a blessing. I've never heard a bishop say, I'm not giving a blessing because it's not a real thing over the internet.
Right.
But I know I've been part of meetings where a bishop has concluded with like the Lord be with you and with your spirit, blessed be the name. Well, now and forever. The sort of apostolic formula to the blessing that a bishop can give.
Right.
I've seen them do that, and I've been on the receiving end over a recording and live, and then I've seen the other side. So I'm not really sure, but I think I lean kind of strongly towards yes, you can. I think that the blessing is the kind of thing that you can transmit in that way, that it's not a physical thing so much as an invocation.
I concur with this statement. By the
Yeah.
way.
And okay, like there's different kinds of blessings too. There's constitutive blessings and invocatory blessings. Constitutive is when something like changes, the state changes. So like you bless a rosary and it becomes now a blessed object that you have to treat in a certain way.
Right. Yeah, probably not that, right?
And so
Yeah.
maybe not, but then I think I want to say that in the Urbi et Orbi, like no, I'm going to back that up. I've gone back and forth on this for years. Like
this has been tormenting you since before COVID.
And I think there's way before COVID. I think there's that it just has to do with the sort of nebulous nature of our theology of blessings, and the direction it's gone historically. Also, like it was a lot more clear when you would say certain words that you would be blessing that thing, and so the difference between invoking God's blessing and having a blessing by your words constitute something different, a constitutory blessing, was much more clear. In the current book of blessings, it's a lot fuzzier. The language is much more like, may the people who use this thing be blessed, and there seems to be kind of shying away from like blessing a thing.
Right.
And so I think that there's some, I have a friend who wrote a dissertation on this that I would love to read. He was at the Casa Santa Maria with me, and just hearing him talk about it was fascinating, but I don't know the conclusion strong enough to really go into at least what he thinks about it. I would say invocatory blessing, for sure. Constitutory, whatever the word is, a blessing that makes something now a sacred object, I'd say probably not. I don't think I can bless holy water over the phone.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah, I just solved it there.
Okay. Well, it's a great follow-up to the next question we have from Sophia. Sophia asks, Wisdom asks, I've heard it said before, with holy water.
Ooh. Oh, that is the
that as long as you do not add more than what is already in the holy water, the water you add can become holy water. Is that true? Is this a myth? Can you clear this up for me once and for all?
Yeah.
So what they're saying is, just break that down because it's a little confusing. Say you have, let's just use a gallon example, okay? I don't know if people actually fill up their gallon jugs, but they have a jug. It has half a gallon in it of holy water. They're saying, can you go to the faucet and can you put in less than half a gallon of regular water, and it is now all holy water? Father Paul's rubbing his face very hard right now. Oh, okay, there you go.
No, I feel like we answered this
Did we?
year ago,
maybe
early on one of the questions.
But hey, the people have asked.
Yeah, no, the people deserve an answer. I don't think so. I'm sorry, if because I know a bunch of people who do stuff like that. And
it's like then you would never run out.
Yeah,
right?
it just seems kind of like a little strange to me. And again, like what a blessed object is much fuzzier theologically than what like a sacramental object, like for instance with the Eucharist, couldn't possibly do something like that, right? Like that, it doesn't work like that. You can't be like, oh, we're getting low on precious blood for this mass. Let's just pour more wine into the chalice.
Right, and it's good. We're good.
Right. That definitely would be actually a grave sin.
Yes, exactly.
And would be desecration of the Eucharist, and something that the priest would have to appeal to Rome to relieve that censure. So yeah, that's a big no-no. Holy water is not the Eucharist, right? Holy water is something much different than that. But I still kind of, I don't know. I don't have really clear and strong reasons for it outside of it just seems kind of weird, and so I'd say probably no. That's kind of where I'm at.
It seems weird because then
you start like,
What? When I was 5, I had to get holy water and never again? Like, you know what I mean? I just keep on.
yeah.
It just seems
But
like
if you
we've
go-
turned it into magic.
Oh, yes. But if you go too far down that road of like, well, why doesn't that work? Then
Yeah.
it becomes like, okay, so like if you add any water, do you have like holy water that's mixed in with normal? And like, what is that now? It's
Right.
like it.
But do
It's
people
like
mix water with
less
holy water?
I don't know. But is it like less holy now? You know,
Yeah.
we're at 3/4 strength holiness. It's like, I don't think it works like that either. Like it's,
Right.
but maybe more like that than the other thing.
Right.
I don't know. I will say this as a way of just getting to a practical conclusion, because
Okay.
I don't know how to answer on a theoretical note. I know that holy water is kind of hard to come by during the pandemic. We don't have the fonts like we normally do, full of
Mhm.
water. But I think something people haven't realized is that you can bring a bottle of water as big as you want to any priest and say, "Can you bless this?" And they'll be like, "Yeah." People, and it takes 2 seconds. People sometimes will be like, "Do I need to make an appointment or anything?" Nope. It takes 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like it is the least intrusive sort of thing. Like, you know, I could be getting in my car on my way to a sick call. You come up, "Can you bless some holy water real quick?" Yeah, absolutely. It takes 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
So anyway, maybe that's a better way.
But over Zoom,
Over
it
Zoom, I
takes
can't.
4
No.
seconds.
Over Zoom, it's at 39% holiness, but it's better than normal water.
Better than what? So follow up on the water though, and I'm not gonna say who, but I had a friend. Let's call him Jimmy because his name was Jimmy. But his family kind of like there was some superstition, and like they would like be told as kids like you needed to drink some holy water. Like, is that sacrilegious?
Well, holy water, I don't think can be the object of sacrilege.
Okay.
Like I think sacrilege pertains more to the sacraments and
Right.
and things which are sort of like on a totally different level. Holy water is sacramental. So like for instance, if you I don't know, can you commit I'm starting to question myself.
Yeah. I'm
like-
starting to
like
question
if you-
you too in all of this.
Yeah, now it becomes clear. He's never known what he was talking about. It's just sort of making it up on the spot. Like
you shouldn't
if you-
just add it to your cooking stuff, right? Like
Well,
have
no.
holy water.
No. Okay, but I'm trying to think of other sacramentals, like with a crucifix, for instance, a blessed crucifix.
Okay.
If you mistreated that, that's
Yeah,
not
wouldn't that-
good. It's obviously not good, but what kind of not good is it? Is it sacrilege not good? Or is it sort of blasphemous, like you could do with the name of God, and also now with this object that's been set apart and dedicated to him,
Yeah.
but not quite to the level that it would become sacrilege? I'm not.
Yeah.
It's a technical thing, and I'm
Huh.
not sure like how to specify it
Right.
off the top of my head, but yeah,
Yeah.
I would say I've heard of people drinking holy water.
So it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing in some cultures, but I think it's kind of a weird thing, honestly.
Yeah.
And like holy water in the font is not clean. It's not potable. Is it
Yeah.
potable or potable?
I don't know.
Drinkable.
I'm not even, yeah.
Um,
Let's just say you shouldn't drink it. People are putting their hands in it.
Yeah, that's why we don't have it during the pandemic, is because
Right.
it's not clean. I do know, just to branch off a little bit, like I went to Lourdes one time, and the Lourdes water
Right.
is very interesting. That's a miraculous spring.
I've been to Lourdes as well, and that's
And-
why I kind of bring it
and
up
she
because
says
I'm
like,
like,
drink this,
Yes.
wash in it. That's a water that it seems inappropriate for a priest to then bless, because it's already this sort of miraculous blessed water. And so you just collect it and you use it, and it's kind of its own thing. How is it different? Not really sure. Not like sacramentals are hard to specify,
yeah,
and that's, I think, why there was a kind of strong reaction away from the constitutive blessings into the invocative blessings. Like, if it's that hard to specify, then is it sort of just like we're calling God's blessing down upon people who use these things and stuff? And it's like, I think that's too far the other way. These things have
Yeah.
been set apart for God, and,
Right.
A meaningful way is to become an instrument to communicate grace. That's what a sacramental is. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's that
Like,
fine
I don't
line.
wanna-
Like you hear parents being like, "Yeah, my kids were like, into crazy stuff, so I sewed miraculous metals in their, mattress or pillow." Have you heard this stuff?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, you're not a parent.
I can imagine.
But like one's being, and then it's like, okay, why wouldn't you slip a little holy water into the? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
Like there is
I
a
don't
thing where like it sort of works by itself, and like it's good to have your house blessed, right?
know. Right.
Even if everyone who's living there isn't there, it does have some sort of like it kind of works in itself kind of thing. But also like it seems like it can get kind of weird and superstitious really quick.
Yeah.
When you go down that road. And I mean, in our St. Joseph book, right? Father Calloway is like, by no means should you be burying St. Joseph upside down because you want to sell your house.
Like, like put his statue up and ask
like,
for his intercession.
Yeah. Like,
don't bury him in the
like
backyard. That's superstitious.
It's not a talisman or some sort of, magical ritual. And that's devotion can kind of easily overflow when it's not sort of bound and guided by reason. Devotion can overflow into superstition rather quickly, if left unbridled. So it's kind of the way I'm describing is kind of like the relationship between the passions or the emotions and the intellect and will, right? Emotions are good things; they're necessary things. They're sort of what bring color and spice and energy,
right,
and all that. But left to themselves, if your emotions are ruling you, then I mean, you're not living a fully human life. It's a desire for pleasure or a desire for food or something is controlling you besides this gift of reason and free will, which is the imitation of God, right? That's how we're created in God's image, and so we have to use that to rule over the passions and to bridle them like wild horses,
right?
To funnel their power towards good things. So even like, I know I'm kind of going off, but even like anger, for instance, right? Righteous anger is a good thing. A lot of people have questions about like, but how do I like remain angry in a righteous way?
Yeah.
It's really hard to do. I like to think of righteous anger as kind of the booster rocket that gets you off the launch pad and out of the atmosphere, right? A righteous anger at something, at an injustice, like should fuel us towards action.
Yeah.
But we have to rein that thing in or eject it or whatever as quickly as we can because it's going to take over and consume us. It's got to provide that initial burst, and then reason and will have to come in and guide that as long as possible until we eject it entirely.
Yeah. But if we don't have a solid O-ring and the seal breaks, then there could be fuel everywhere and all of that. And so, and also
O-ring.
If we ever, flip a table, that's just righteous anger. That's what I tell my wife. If I'm ever flipping a table, like that's what Jesus
Whips
said.
of cords, we're all good.
We took way too long on a question about holy water, but I love it. And we gave you no solid answers to the people. We love you.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
Oh, man.
Siamo in camino.
There you go. All right. On behalf of Joey Scansella, Father Paul Bechter, take care.
God bless.